Welcome to Womb Talk. I'm your host, Elizabeth Vanderwalt, the owner and founder of Fruitful Doula Services. In Womb Talk, we like to go over different topics that are acceptable for all audiences. We're not medical professionals. Everything on this podcast is to educate you so that you can make better choices for your body. If you have a passion for all things women's health, then please start listening. It's a wide range of subjects that are at your fingertips. Don't forget to check us out on social media. We're on a lot of platforms. Let's start talking, shall we? Female fertility is often said to fall off a cliff after 35. But we are starting to grow great recognition because the idea is kind of outdated. Sure, I'm not knacking and I'm not knocking down the fact that, yes, as we get older, our fertility can decline slowly, possibly. But we are seeing an entirely huge increase in women over 30 having babies. I mean, we all know the story by now if you've been following along for a while. My mother had me when she was 37. My youngest brother, David, she was 42. All of us healthy, all of us somewhat normal. And it turned out fine. Now, I'm not knocking that there are people that have difficulties with conceiving and difficulties with delivery, etc., during postpartum, all that stuff. If you've paid attention some, I have mentioned that my mother did struggle actually to conceive me, as she had got married with my father when she was 35, and she had tried for more than a year to conceive me. At the time, she had taken herbal capsule called Vitex, or also known as chasteberry. And she swears that that is what she had conceived with me. And from there, because she already had one child and she had my sister, she was an Irish twin. We were pretty close together. So her fertility stayed a little bit more active in that sense. Nowadays, with the help of IVF, IUI, and other artificial or assisted reproductive technologies, there is more hope than there ever was before. We are seeing articles of far and wide different women of different ages having children. I mean, it's crazy. Some of them I've seen. I've seen one of even a couple from India that were closer in their 70s, I believe, if I remember correctly. And I was like, wow. And that is where we're at today. So according to some of the most recent data for 2020, I believe it was, 40.6% of all egg retrievals were for women 35 to 37 years old. And all of those 35 or the 40.6% was all women that led to live births. Like each one was a birth and all of the babies were alive, which is that's just great news. And I think I read another article that was mentioning that 16% of women nowadays that have babies are actually over 30. That's the average. And this is, I think, a really amazing thing because in that same article, they were discussing how there was a time for women where we had a much, much higher rate of teen pregnancy. And nowadays, when you compare the teen pregnancy rate compared to women of possibly an older age, then that is higher. That 16% I was telling you about, that's the majority. So we actually have older moms now more than we do have teen moms, which is really cool in my opinion. So the reason, let's talk about the why conceiving can become more difficult at this age. And honestly, it comes down a lot to our two factors, egg quantity and egg quality. So as we all know, females are born with all the eggs we're ever going to have, which is about 2 million. But the sad thing is, by puberty, we're actually at only 600,000. The ovarian reserve continues to decline into adulthood. As we get older, women have less eggs. Simple as that is. And the quality of the eggs also decline, which is why it becomes harder to naturally conceive. And sometimes even when you go for fertility treatments, that's when the success rate can lower. So some things that we often talk about when trying to conceive at an older age is discussing what ways you can better beneficially take care of your body to conceive and what your body needs. So I've done quite a few videos. I do reels. I try to do all types of different platforms, and it kind of has a similar message to go over. And if you're of a great follower, you're probably like, I've heard that one already before. But there are four things I would say that are the biggest and the most important when trying to conceive over 30. And that one, which affects us all, like even I'm only 25 almost, but it affects me even right now, is you want to look at your role of stress and how that plays a part into your life. When you are stressed out, your cortisol is high, which is a hormone, and it could just lower everything else. And it could just be a pain in the butt, to be real. It's a big old pain in the butt. And so you want to look into ways that you can't stop stress. Stress is around you on the daily. I've had this discussion with other people that have come to join, speak with me, but you want to see how you can manage the stress. So for example, today I've had a really, really long day, and I would say I'm pretty stressed out from today. Today was really quite rough. So I came home and I ate something, and then I tried to rest. I sat down, I rested, I listened to some music. I'm really into breath work. So trying to do something like that, you are calming yourself down. You're trying to help your body just understand that not everything is a fight or flight method. I believe there's some other ways people call that. I think now there's a few different ones. I think it's like fight, flight, and fawn. But everything isn't like that. My body knows that it is okay. We are safe. We're going to be all right. And it kind of helps. I know I have heard, I believe some people mention also EFT tapping for stress, and that's supposed to help. So that's, something else to look into. Did I say 4 or 3 things? I'm a little spacey from this. Blame me. I blame me for trying to record this on today, but I wanted to talk about it because honestly, talking is something natural for me. And that's why I do the podcast. So I can just talk to you like I was having a conversation. Like right now, if, you and I were sitting on a Zoom call, this is me, just you talking. And unfortunately, you're just not getting to say anything back. Sorry. But really, you want to take, the second one would be really to take a look into your nourishment. And for nourishment, there is so much. Like I said, I've done videos on it too, and I'll try to list some of those in the YouTube or in the links or whatnot. But you really want to look into what you're eating and what you're consuming. I constantly have said in the past, you want to look into which foods, and it's very hard to find, I will admit. You want to look into foods that are foraged. I don't know about where you live, but are you close enough by that maybe there's like a natural park that maybe has wild strawberries or wild blueberries, something that you're allowed to pick and consume. A lot of herbs can be found, like nettle's a wild plant, dandelion root, that's a natural plant that you can find. Red raspberry leaf is literally if you have a raspberry bush and you take the leaves off. Like these things are available to you, and the more you do it yourself, the more natural, at least, especially the more hands-off as humans we are to the item, the more natural it is. For nourishment beyond the foraging part, you really want to look into the food, on where it comes from, your meats. Can you consume more meat that is locally grown? So if you take your protein from animal fats and things like that, can you make your own homemade bone broth? I mean, sure, it's a time-consuming thing, but what you get from a store, how do you know? You know what I mean? We do the whole more rural farming thing. And when we get chicken bones or turkey bones or, whatever kind of bones that we get, we put in a crock pot. You add lots of water. My sister could probably give me the recipe. She does most of it. And then you literally let that sit most of the day. It goes on at like 7 or 8 in the morning. And by the time that we're going to bed, it's done. And you can leave it overnight on the counter. And then the next day they can it, sometimes they don't can it. They even just put it in a jar in the fridge and we drink that. And there you go. That's bone broth and nourishment into your body that you may not have had before. There's just a lot of different ways to nourish yourself in a more natural way that can help you conceive. Because a lot of the things, and this is sometimes not all due to the politics around everything, but it is, when there are farmers that are growing en masse, like when they're technically growing wheat that's for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people, bags and bags of flour, eventually with the different type of fertilizers used, with the mass production line of it all, you're bound to lose some of your nutrition from it. Whereas, not everyone can. And I fully understand and believe that, it's not a skill even everyone could have. But getting food naturally from like a farmer's market or some farm type of thing, there's more in that than a can of beans or beans that are just sitting on your grocery store shelf. They've always said for many years that I can think of, you want to get frozen foods compared to fresh. 90% of the time when you get food straight from like the farm that they're going to do frozen food, they stick it right away in a bag and they stick it in the freezer. Whereas for food that is preserved to stay on the shelf, you're having delivery time. You are sitting that it has been active and on a counter in a sense, so to speak, for a lot longer than usual. So there's a lot of different ways that you want to look into this a little bit on how you can eat yourself, how you can eat for yourself to ensure that you have a better sense of nourishment for your body. For number 3, we're going to talk about the nervous system regulation. So I had talked about this a little bit when I spoke about stress and I spoke about that fight or flight response. But when you're trying to have a baby, there is a lot of that fight or flight response happening. And it can shut down our sleeping. It can prevent us from eating properly and digesting it. But it also plays a big part in the reproduction side of things. And some of the ways that if you're having a dysregulated nervous system a little bit is to think about like maybe gut issues. So that kind of goes along bowel movements, etc. That's a whole deeper concept. You want to look into the brain fog or maybe a trouble concentrating on something. You're wanting to look into maybe being irritable or having cases of insomnia, or maybe you're even having frequent illnesses, coming up. I'm wondering if I have this now. But, if you're nodding to some of this and you think, oh, yep, that I have that one or I have this one, that's where you're going to want to start to try to regulate yourself, because that's what's playing a part into your conception journey as well. So to regulate your nerves, only 20% of the messaging in our body actually runs from the brain. That's why when we're triggered, or if you're experiencing any type of anxiety or trying to tell yourself to calm down, it isn't always effective, because only sometimes that 20% of the messaging is going from our brain and is actually telling our body what to do. So if you know math, and I'm not good at math, so 80% of our body is still in the stress response, which is really hard. I mean, think about it. It's a lot. So our nervous system doesn't always speak a verbal language, right? It responds to touch. It's to movement, to sound, to breath. So that's where, like I mentioned, our breathing exercise, things like the body tapping, the EFTs, and I think that's what they call it. Or, what's that TikTok trend that's been going around that's like the shimmy out, like a shimmy a day is going to make you happy. Just kind of shimming it, start at the wrist and then shake your body a little bit down. That's going to help move your hips, shake the body, and that's going to kind of release some of that anxiety that we're talking about, and that plays into dancing, or that plays down into, breathing exercises, singing and music, all that kind of stuff is what helps us. And I mean, if you're able to, I was supposed to do it for my edema, is you're supposed to stick your feet up on the wall and you're supposed to like lay backwards and your feet are technically on the wall as support. I can't do that. I can do it if I have help, but then I get it in my back, so I don't do it. But, that is something that is supposed to help regulate the vagus nerve and just really get you down to earth a little bit more. Some people have spoken to me about using like hot and cold therapy, kind of like what we do during labor, but it's really more of just like, that's also a way to help with the temperature changes and stuff. Another big topic that would be number 4 and final, I guess, would definitely be your supplements. What supplements are you taking that's actually guiding your body? I know we're often told that if you're wanting to try to conceive a baby, have prenatals. But then if you go to a more in-depth on what prenatals you're taking and what vitamins are actually in there and minerals, which ones are more synthetic instead of the real stuff. So in a prenatal vitamin video that I did, I spoke about some of the different the different vitamins that you could kind of use. You'll want to look into more natural and holistic type of vitamins that might be able to help you. Another big one for supplements to look into that's supposed to help both a quality, a quantity, I think, not so much on the quantity. I think it's more just the quality. Sorry. It's like the A quality. I think it even is supposed to help with sperm quality. I will double check that and like put a note in the show notes. But CoQ10 is supposed to be very good to have on your team when you're trying to have a baby. So that's another supplement that, you can start trying to look into on how to help yourself. So honestly, taking care of yourself and taking care of your body as much as possible is part of the puzzle when trying to conceive. And I'm taking this now as a time to tell you, and I had mentioned this in the episode about sperm health, but it's not always on you. Like we're quick to say, if you're listening to this, I'm going to 99% say probably you're a woman. And if you're a woman listening to this, you're trying to conceive, you're thinking, how can I help me? Because it's always me. It's always a feeling, that I'm to blame. And I'm telling you right here, right now, it might not entirely be yours to blame. There is oftentimes where many stories have occurred where women and I should say couples, they are together trying to conceive, and from there that turns into maybe a possible failed marriage or a failed relationship, and from there when they get with a new person, they have a baby. And whether it was the stress of the relationship or it was possibly your other partner's half, that's why I always say with conception, it's 2 people to make a whole. So once you look at a full of yourself, it's time to get your partner in, and it's time to look at a full health analysis of them. Like, how are they dealing with their stress? Are they eating enough? Are they on supplements to support their body? Because obviously you need semen to meet an egg, and from there, that is how you get a baby. And there's way more to it, of course, probably, but probably. I deal a lot with kids, so there's a lot going on here. Anyway, so you want to look at both parties. You want to see how both are feeling, and that plays into a big role into conception. So this is why it might be a good time in your life to be conceiving a child. I am more of, I'd say, a spiritual person, and I do have sometimes a divine timing kind of feeling. I don't like it always. There's a lot of things I just would rather right now and not later. And I value your feelings and thoughts. I'm not trying to dishearten that when I say it. But there is something deeper that we unknowingly have when going through this journey, and we don't know it sometimes. And, sometimes big feelings can kind of play a big part in that. Maybe it's a feeling of disheartenment. Maybe it's a feeling of being left out. Maybe it's more fear of like, what's wrong with you? Or, there's just so many feelings that come around with trying to conceive. And even if you're trying all the things, sometimes it's not always explained. So, like I said, I've suggested some great books to read as well. Recently, in some videos, I've talked a lot about Lily Nichols, but she also has a book that just recently came out called Feed Your Fertility. And I haven't been able to read it yet. I'm so excited to get my hands on it. I'm hoping the library will get it. But she's really wise. And if you get a chance to read any books, try to find that book. See how you can feed your body, what you can do different. And if you're able, for me, I have my own eating problems. So I always know I'm like, you could be doing better right now if you just tried to eat this thing. So see how you can help yourself with the different options out there. There's a lot out there. So I wish you the best of luck in trying to find what works for you. And if you're needing a lot more support with it and you're needing someone to help you do the research, to help give you that chance of just having a sounding board, ideas, this is the work that I do. It's something I'm passionate about. And I love giving you this free option to get advice. But if there's a way that you want more one-on-one, speak to me so you can actually speak, like a Zoom call with me, please reach out. I leave always like an email, and there's all my socials and stuff. I'm always active on socials more than I should be. And I would just love to connect with you and support you in this time if that is something you desire, or, you just feel like you've been on it for a while, maybe on a bit. But I'm not a salesy person, and I'm not trying to come off salesy in a podcast episode. I just wanted to let you know that that's an option out there that is provided. But I hope that you find your answer. And hopefully that this, after listening to this, maybe you've got, maybe something already brewing that you don't know about. But I will say au revoir and all the other words that come for goodbye. And we will speak again next week. And I'm so excited because next week's episode is going to be a very special one. I'm fantastically excited about it. Her name is Sarah. She's a CEO and the founder of Revel Cares, which is a period product for women that's more holistically designed. I'm very fascinated to talk with her. I cannot wait for that episode. It's going to be, just a blast. And we're coming close to the season 3, or to the finale of season 2, a final season with a finale finally with me. But then you're going to get a special extra episode that is going to talk about all those extra tips we've gone from everyone on podcast episodes. So that's going to be a compilation on both streaming platforms and on YouTube. But then for season 3, we are going to try to come up with a theme. So I'm working on that right now behind the scenes, but I'm excited for all the things that are coming up for Womb Talk. And if you ever yourself would like to be a guest to tell your story as a woman, please, there's always a link in the description of these podcast episodes for you to come and join me. Be beside me, have the Zoom talk with me, live on camera for everyone to see. Well, live, it's never live, but yeah, thank you very much. And I can't wait to talk to you. I've got exciting things happening. Stay tuned for next Monday.